Tom, good to talk to you, and I know you're still there at the UN.
Nice to talk to you, Jenny.
The treaty talks continue, and I know when I was there last week, there was a lot of back and forth about what was going to be included. But right now, behind the scenes, there's some talk, I understand, that the treaty may be in trouble. Tell us what you're hearing.
I'm hearing that there's a certain group of states led by, theoretically, by Egypt and India that are very concerned that an arms trade treaty would limit the actual arms that they could impose. Now, we're talking big power politics here, strategic politics. And they don't want a situation in which they have to come to the major powers and beg to have arms imported. I know that sounds a little weird, but they're afraid that the arms trade treaty could be used to the advantage of the major manufacturers in the big countries. They're afraid some type of cartel will develop underneath the arms trade treaty. It's a very, very interesting situation. They don't see a lot in the arms trade treaty for them. But there's significant opposition, political opposition, strategic opposition developing to the arms trade treaty.
Now, this is a block of countries. I mean, do you think they have the ability to keep this treaty from being finalized?
Well, if it's countries like India, Pakistan, Egypt, they have the ability. They can block consensus. And I've also heard that some of them want their fingerprints on this. Of course, there are a lot of countries that don't want their fingerprints on a failed ATT. It's somewhat like murder on the Orient Express, where they all do it, but none of them want to be responsible for the murder.
So you think this could be a real threat to the treaty?
People who are in very high positions that the treaty right now only has about a 50-50 chance.
Tom, I'm sure that won't upset gun owners knowing that it's not going to go anywhere, this treaty. But when it comes to the scope, I know Mexico is leading the charge on making sure that everything is in that treaty, from the handgun you own to the ammunition you own. And with just 1 week left, where are we when it comes to the scope, what the UN calls the scope, what would be included in that treaty?
That qualifier has been taken out. So now it's all small arms.
So what does that mean when you say all small arms? I mean, they've never defined what a small arm is. So for us concerned about our Second Amendment, what does that mean?
That means all civilian small arms. That means small arms under the Second Amendment. We don't like that.
All righty. I know that today former Ambassador John Bolton wrote in a commentary and made very clear that this treaty is a, quote, sneak way to gun control. And he's very concerned. He says the real danger with this treaty is that the anti-gunners could use it later on to even require more domestic restraint. So this treaty really would just be the start.
Absolutely. Bolton's article was absolutely right on. The hard thing ahead is it's so nebulous. There are no, and this is, pardon the pun, there are no real smoking guns in here. But it is very, very duplicitous. What you could base, what actions could come from a treaty in the future are very frightening. Bolton's article was perfect. His points are well taken, and we've made those same points to certain governments.
Absolutely. So next week, what do we see? More closed-door meetings? I mean, when it comes to finalizing, will there be an open forum so everybody can see who supports it and who doesn't?
I hope so, Jenny. This process here is always bizarre. It's not like the open government we have in the United States. It's at least a half closed, if not three-quarter closed process here.
But you see right now that there's a real chance this treaty's not going to be finalized. It's not going anywhere.
That's what I see right now, but I'd still put my money on something coming out of here.
Yeah, you know, I've said from the start, I had some questions about it going all the way either. But, you know, you look at the UN, they've been doing this for 15 years, and everybody says, come hell or high water, they're going to get a treaty.
That's right.
I've got to ask you one more question before I let you go. There have been some commentaries recently about whether treaties trump the Constitution. What can you tell us about that?
Treaties do not trump the Constitution. The case is Reed versus Covert. It was decided by the court. That's just a inappropriate, inaccurate interpretation of it. The Constitution's still valid.
And you said who was it decided by?
The Supreme Court.
All
the
right.
case is called Reed versus Covert.